Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards.
If you're listening to this podcast, then you're in great company. We've got thousands of listeners who have a thirst for continual improvement and raising standards in business. Whether your interest is in quality, sustainability, or risk standards, I'd love to welcome you as a member to our online platform for all things ISO, the ISology Hub. The ISology Hub is the leading place to get access to all of your online resources, from in-depth training courses through to our very popular coffee break training, to templates and action plans and many other resources to help raise standards. As a member, you get access to over 100 courses, taking you from learner to practitioner to leader. The ISology Hub has all the resources that you need, which will really help to make your life easier and to help improve compliance in those business critical areas. So if you'd like access to learning and compliance resources ranging from data privacy to environmental management, anti-bribery, business continuity, quality, health and safety, to name just but a few, the list is endless actually, then we'd love for you to come and join us. Just head over to the isologyhub.com.
Hello and welcome to the ISO Show. I'm Steph Churchman and I'm the Communications Manager for Blackmores. Today we'll be taking a look at how ISO standards can help with ESG compliance. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this acronym by now. It's been thrown around a lot in the last few years as the next big focus for organisations. In many ways, it's an evolution of CSR, which is of course corporate social responsibility. That one was more focused on the governance aspect, which was more about ensuring profitable organisations are compliant with legislation. But now we're seeing that focus shift towards environmental and social aspects of business management and responsibility, with this recent push encouraging organisations to embrace more sustainable and collaborative activities in the day-to-day management of the business, in addition to long-term strategies and objectives. For those that aren't quite sure what ESG is all about, let's break it down. ESG stands for Environmental, Social and Governance. Analysis and evaluation against these three elements help organisations to consider different areas within their overall sustainability profile. The environmental section looks at issues surrounding climate change and actions to address an organisation's environmental responsibility. So this would include things like monitoring and management of your energy consumption, waste management and pollution. It also seeks to tackle how organisations can address, reduce and mitigate their overall environmental impact. The social aspect is based around the relationships an organisation has with its stakeholders. This is often focused on employees and looks at a broad range of topics including employee well-being, fair and competitive pay, benefits and human resource-related policies. Considerations can also include wider business relationships such as supplier relations, local community and government work. And governance criteria is focused on creating a business environment that is fair, transparent and accountable. Considerations in this area include board composition, fairness in pay structures and executive compensation, business ethics and risk management. Now, there are a number of schemes seeking to tackle ESG in a more measurable approach. That was something that got lost with CSR, to the point where it was almost relegated to simply being a buzzword. Businesses were content to just update a few policies and add a page to their website and call it a day. With ESG, we're seeing a bigger push for established frameworks and scoring systems to keep businesses accountable for their claims. There is a lot out there, so I can't point you to any one scheme or framework that you can align yourself with. That will entirely depend on your company size and sector. However, I'll highlight a few examples, including the S&P Global ESG score. This assesses a company's performance and management of ESG risks and opportunities using a combination of company disclosures, media analysis, and industry-specific questionnaires. A score of 0 to 100 is given based on their findings, and are relative within a company's industry sector. So a company with a high score might still have room for improvement compared to industry leaders in ESG practices. Another one is Fitch Ratings ESG relevance scores. Fitch Ratings assigns ESG relevance scores alongside their traditional credit ratings. These scores assess how ESG factors can impact a company's creditworthiness. Their scores range from 1 to 5, with 5 indicating the highest ESG relevance to credit risk. Another one is MSCI. They offer ESG ratings for a broad range of companies. It's not really limited by sector or size. They use a letter grade system going from AAA to CCC to assess a company's relative ESG risks and opportunities related to its peers. The scoring for this one is a bit more unique, with it assigning companies as either an ESG leader, average, or laggard within their industry. There are a lot more out there. Things like B Corp also fall under this category, and I expect we'll see more scoring systems and possible certifications specific to ESG going forward. So, where do ISO standards fit in with ESG? It's important to clarify that there is no single ISO standard that guarantees ESG compliance, because ESG is a broad framework. However, ISO standards provide a strong foundation for implementing many aspects of an ESG strategy, which in turn will lead to better ESG compliance. Let's dive into why that's the case. Starting with structure and framework. ISO standards offer a structured approach to managing environmental, social, and governance practices. This helps companies identify key areas for improvement and developing a systematic plan to address them. For instance, ISO 14001, which is environmental management, provides a framework for setting environmental goals, tracking progress, and continuously improving environmental performance. This directly contributes to an organization's environmental sustainability efforts, which is a key pillar of ESG. Next is improved performance. By following ISO standards, companies can demonstrably improve their environmental performance, social responsibility, and governance structures by putting in frameworks that align with best practice standards. We'll take a look at exactly what ISO standards can help with each pillar of ESG a bit later, so we'll put a pin in this one for now. Moving on, ISO standards also offer transparency and credibility. Achieving certification to a relevant ISO standard involves a third-party audit, which verifies that a company's systems and processes meet that standard's requirements. This certification acts as a credible signal to stakeholders such as your investors, customers, and regulators that you are committed to ESG principles. Also, we can't forget risk management. Proactive management of ESG risks is a key component of any ESG strategy. Many ISO standards focus on risk identification and mitigation. For example, ISO 37001 Anti-Bribery helps identify and address bribery risks, which can have significant financial and reputational consequences. Or ISO 45001 Health and Safety Management, which requires risk assessments to be carried out to ensure the safety and well-being of your employees on site locations, which would fall under the social aspect of ESG. And lastly, it will give you a competitive advantage. Strong ESG performance is increasingly sought after by investors and stakeholders. Implementing ISO standards can help companies demonstrate their ESG commitment and gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. You'll also feel the benefit of gaining multiple badges through ISO certification and possibly an ESG score if you choose to go down that route with one of the official scoring systems. This may all still feel really nebulous, so just think of ISO standards as building blocks. They provide the foundation and structure for a strong ESG strategy. By implementing relevant standards and achieving certification, you can demonstrate a dedicated commitment to ESG principles. However, it's important to remember that ISO standards are just one piece of the puzzle. Companies will need to develop specific ESG goals, policies, and reporting mechanisms to fully achieve ESG compliance. Although, if I'm completely honest, it's likely that a lot of these will align with your existing policies and objectives created as a result of ISO implementation anyway. So really, they do go hand in hand.
Are you new to ISO standards and want to know what it's all about? Or maybe your company has multiple ISO standards, but there's a lack of engagement and compliance. Whether it's quality, sustainability or risk standards, the ISology Hub is your one-stop shop for all your online learning resources associated with raising your company's standards. From as little as £99 a month, you can have unlimited access to hundreds of online training courses and achieve certification for completion of courses along the way, which will take you from learner to practitioner to leader in no time. So what courses are in the Hub? Well, there are courses on everything a head of quality, sustainability, information security and health and safety would need to manage compliance and raise standards. With over 100 courses available to you, here are examples of just a few. ISO 9001 Internal Auditor, how to transition to the new ISO 27001 standard, the role of ESG in quality management, and how to integrate management systems. But it's not just courses in the ISology Hub. You can access templates, downloads and action checklists to take your business to the next level. So why not try the ISology Hub today? Just click on the link at www.isologyhub.com and you'll get access to all our resources within minutes. If you're interested in embedding best practice across your organisation or would like to develop an awareness and training programme for employees, we offer a free learning and development session to tailor a bespoke training programme based on your organisation's needs. So we'd love for you to join as an ISology Hub member. Just head over to isologyhub.com to get access to your unlimited training and compliance resources.
So what ISO standard should you consider for ESG compliance? Chances are you're likely already certified to one or many of these, but there may be some new ones in there that you've not heard of. You'd be surprised at how many niches ISO standards fill. There really are some oddly specific ones out there. Let's start by taking a look at what standards can help with tackling the environmental element. The one that most of you are probably already familiar with is ISO 14001, Environmental Management. This provides a framework for managing environmental impacts, reducing waste, and improving your resource efficiency. Next, we have ISO 50001, Energy Management. This helps companies monitor and optimize their energy use with the aim to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Next is ISO 2400, Sustainable Procurement. As the name suggests, this will help you to adopt sustainable procurement principles and practices within your organisation. By looking at how you can reduce waste, choose more sustainable options for acquired resources, how you can extend the life of those resources through remanufacturing and recovery of waste, and encourages the use of more innovative products and services. Next is ISO 20121, Sustainable Event Management. This one's actually just received an update. We summarised the main changes in our last episode, so you can go back and give that a listen. But again, as the name suggests, this is mostly applicable to the event sector and aims to help reduce the amount of waste produced during events, either through potential energy savings and the production of recycling of resources used during an event. Next is ISO 14064, Greenhouse Gas Verification. This provides a framework for measuring and managing greenhouse gas emissions. This is a crucial step if you're working towards net zero, as you will need to know what your baseline is before you can work on reducing and offsetting remaining emissions. And my final recommendation under the environmental section is ISO 14068, a framework for helping businesses achieve net zero. This standard will replace PAS 2060 in November 2025, so anyone looking into PAS 2060 now may be better off going with ISO 14068, as it includes more guidance on purchasing credible carbon credits. Moving on to the social aspect, the most obvious one that comes to mind is ISO 26000, Social Responsibility, which offers guidance on integrating social responsibility practices throughout your organisation. Next is another I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, ISO 45001, otherwise known as Occupational Health and Safety Management. This helps companies create a safe and healthy work environment. It provides a robust set of requirements designed for improving workplace safety in organisations and supply chains, with the aim of reducing workplace injury and illness. And here's one you may not be familiar with, ISO 45003, Psychosocial Health and Safety Management, aka Mental Health in the Workplace. You may be wondering why there's a whole standard dedicated to this, and there is a very good reason. For the last 4 years or so, work-related stress, depression and anxiety has been the leading cause for work-related ill health cases and lost working days. That's according to the annual HSE reports. So clearly, it's a big issue that many more need to consider and address. And lastly, let's look at the governance aspect. Starting with the obvious, ISO 9001 Quality Management. This is the leading global quality mark for businesses and designed as a vital business improvement tool. It's quite simply a blueprint for running your business successfully. Next is ISO 22301 Business Continuity Management, which provides a basis for planning to ensure your long-term survivability following a disruptive event. This is a standard that many align with but don't always certify to, and for good reason, as it provides some invaluable guidance for establishing business continuity plans, along with stressing the need to test them. You'd be surprised how many companies don't actually test their plans. Next is ISO 27001 Information Security. This is a standard that is commonplace for most sectors now, given how reliant we are all on tech. ISO 27001 will help you to implement a robust information security management system, which is a systematic approach to managing sensitive company information and ensuring it remains secure and available. It encompasses people, processes, and IT systems. So it's not all just focused on the tech, it does include other things as well. This next one may be a bit niche, ISO 37001 Anti-Bribery Management. It's the international standard that allows organisations of all types to prevent, detect and address bribery by adopting anti-bribery policies, appointing a person to oversee anti-bribery compliance, training and carry out any risk assessments. And last but not least is ISO 44001 Collaborative Business Management. This was originally a British standard that has been created to provide a framework for creating and managing collaborative business relationships between organisations. This standard promotes the best way for businesses to work together, thus effectively developing and managing their interactions with each other for maximum benefit to everyone involved. So that's just a very quick summary of how ISO standards can help with ESG compliance. Obviously, I threw out a lot of standards at you at the end there. When you're able to access the show notes, check out the links provided as we'll provide a bit more information for each of those. If you're looking for more guidance and training regarding the links between ESG and ISO standards, we are developing an ESG suite of training courses for the ISology Hub, which is our online learning platform. You can sign up to our newsletter to get information on when these become available, in addition to standards updates and a heads up for when our webinars and other events are happening. Before I go, I'd just like to remind people to subscribe on your preferred media player if you've not already. And if you have 5 minutes to spare, please leave us with a nice shiny 5-star review, as this really does help us to reach a wider audience. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, feel free to send us an email or just comment on whatever media player you're on. We'd love to hear from you. That's all from me today. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch up with you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.